And let us continue on with the meeting. For the sake of time, we decided to not hold this open house like a regular Toastmaster meeting with all the roles, but rather we decided to compress it and focus on the keynote speaker for tonight and our speakers, and you, most importantly, you, the member. Next up, I would like to introduce Raghad Tommy, who so great, again, because she so graciously agreed to give an icebreaker speech. An icebreaker speech in any Toastmasters meeting is the very first speech that a Toastmaster begins. It's a very important part of a Toastmaster's journey, one of the very first steps that they take. They get to introduce themselves to the club, but I will let Raghad and her evaluator, Annmarie, do more of the introduction and explanation. Guys, take it away.
Good evening, my fellow Toastmasters and guests. My name is Raghad, or in Arabic it's Raghad. I have spent most of my life in Arabic, Jordan, and the Middle East. In the first 12 years of my education, I finished my high school at the scientific stream. I can claim that I was a very good student and my GPA was always very good to excellent. Also, I was the eldest daughter and granddaughter, so my family had high expectations for me. I grew up knowing that I came from a family who appreciate higher education. My father has his PhD degree when I was 10 years, and my mother finished her master's degree when I was 15. All my uncles and aunts were at least with a bachelor's degree. I knew that I wanted to complete my education and go to college. And my family had always supported me with positive words and encouraged me to pursue my higher education to achieve my dreams and goals. I had the passion to learn more and experience new things in life. My family has always predicted that I will be successful and reach high expectancies. After graduation from bachelor degree in nursing of 1 year, I started working at the cardiac care unit. After that, I started my master's degree in advanced adult healthcare in 2017, sorry. While studying, I was working as a registered nurse, and which I worked for 6 years at the CCU. During my study and work, I have noticed the need of cardiac patients for special education about their disease and management, which became later my area of interest. Besides, I experienced being a clinical instructor for nursing students at 2 important courses in nursing, medical, surgical, and critical care course. Being a clinical instructor at the nursing college has given me the motivation to be a changing agent on students' academic progression and their skills toward patient care in professional and skillful way in various healthcare settings. My time in work and college was very busy. I used to work 18-hour shifts, 4 days per week, and attended the classes for 1 day and 2 days teaching students without having a day off. This challenging working environment provided me with a great opportunity to work on my leadership and communication skills. I continued this space for 3 years until I had finished my classes and dissertation, which was a randomized controlled trial to implement a cardiac educational program for cardiac patients. Actually, it wasn't an easy to make the balance between my work as a registered nurse, clinical instructor, and a full-time graduate student. However, my family and friends supported me always in my both times of joy and distress. Last January 2021, I moved to Milwaukee to start the spring semester of my PhD journey at nursing school. I still remember the day me and my husband arrived with the first snowstorm, which all you know that was very cold. The weather was crazy and the vision was difficult. My husband came with me for 2 weeks and he returned back to our home country to finish his second master degree. Since the first week of being on campus, I have started my work as a clinical instructor at the Nursing Learning Resource Center to teach simulation for undergraduate nursing students, besides being a full-time PhD student. As moving forward, I started participating in symposium conferences meetings, which influenced my level of engagement, motivation, and persistence, as well as my sense of identity and my chosen field. My learning process included several social and emotional, as well as intellectual processes. I have started my Toastmaster journey by an email on last October from one of my professors, Dr. Kibicho, who announced for a speech craft. And I was the only student who replied to that email. I knew then this is what I need. Since English is my second language, so I need to improve my speech skills, leadership skills, and my confidence during the conferences or meeting. I ended up being a member at 2 clubs for Toastmasters. I gathered some of my friends. We started the speech craft for a great 5 weeks, where we learned how to do an icebreaker, how to do a or how to use vocal variety to write purpose statement, how to use body language, and how to do word choices. Other than that, we get the chance to be evaluated and to be evaluators, which helps us to improve and enhance our understanding of common speech making practices. Whether you realize it or not, each time you listen to someone speak, you are subconsciously evaluating them based on your set of values and personal frame of references. Taking on this role improves active listening, critical thinking, and positive feedback skills. Evaluation is the heart of the Toastmaster educational programs. You observe the speeches and leadership roles of your fellow club members and offer evaluation of their efforts, and they do the same for you. So if this is what you're looking for to improve your leadership skills, speech skills, and confidence in a comfortable and acceptance area, then this is the right place to start being on. Toastmaster clubs. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you.
One minute of silence for any feedback to give to Raghad for her amazing icebreaker speech. 1 minute, please, to our timer, please. All right. Thank you, Suwa. Thank you, Raghad. In the Toastmaster program, in addition to giving speeches, in order to improve, we have our evaluation sessions. Annmarie Braun, DTM, has agreed to be Raghad's evaluator for tonight and to demonstrate the evaluation process for a Toastmaster speech. The evaluation, the bread and butter of the Toastmaster program. Without further ado, let's hear it up for Annmarie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster, and especially you, Raghad. Wasn't she wonderful? I think you are very, very good at speaking, at crafting your your speeches. It's just amazing how you can do that. I really, really felt that I got to know you a lot. Two things you talked about your career, which was amazing with the support of your family and everything. And on the other side, the Toastmasters, how you joined, you used a little bit of humor when you talked about Jennifer's email and you were the only one who replied to it. It was just amazing. In Toastmasters, what we do for evaluations, it's not like at work where we just panic and don't want an evaluation from our boss. On the contrary, in Toastmasters, we try to motivate people. Of course, we will give feedback as well because we want to grow. So what I really liked about your speech is that you have a wonderful way of expressing things. You got to tell us about yourself, about your career, about Toastmasters, as I said before. I think at the beginning you were a little more nervous. Of course you're nervous. I would also be nervous. I was the shyest person on earth when I joined Toastmasters. So I thought it was very brave, and I'm glad you had this opportunity to just get you to a different level and get feedback and be speaking in front of so many people at an open house. It's fantastic. You got to loosen up after a while, and you use more your body language, which I really, really liked. I could see the hands and the face gestures that were very, very detailed. I really liked about that. What I would encourage you, of course, you're just starting, is just not to read every single word in your speech. There are some different methods. Some people think one of the best methods is just to put drawings for your introduction. Draw something. Then first point, you draw something else, second point, third point, and then the conclusion. That would really help to loosen up. One thing is to read how we write it, and some other thing is how we say it. So just keep that in mind. I thought I could visualize everything. You wanted to tell for me to focus on your rhythm. I think at the beginning, of course, you were a little fast, but then you recovered. It was beautifully made. I think you enhanced it with your body, and your voice inflection is just very, very good. That's one of the strongest points I saw in your speech. So I just encourage you to give more speeches. You're amazing. So, wow, I'm impressed with you, and I'm looking forward to your next speech, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Annmarie, for the wonderful evaluation, excuse me. All right. It is around that time, and I'll admit our keynote speaker is running a little late. So if you guys don't mind, I saw a couple of new guests come on in just shortly. So can I get our new guests to introduce themselves? How about Larry? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you. How are you doing? My name is Larry Kerber. I'm actually from Spectacle City Club, and I've been a Toastmaster since 2012. Achieved competent communicator and advanced communicator bronze, advanced leader bronze, and competent communicator. And I joined Toastmasters because of one of my friends, and I've enjoyed it and loved it ever since. And thank you for inviting me to this open house. Back to you.
Thank you, Larry. Joanna, would you care to introduce yourself?
Okay, let me try to make an introduction. Sorry, I'm from China, Beijing. Now it's daytime. I honestly, it is my like fifth time to join Toastmaster online, and I really like this platform, and it's a good way for us to communication. I do learn a lot of things from you guys, and I'm Joe's girlfriend, and I'm happy that he just introduced me to all of you, and I'm also happy to join this Toastmaster group, and my job is a teacher, and I used to work in government, and I'm a government teacher, and then I I just quit my government job and decided to work in an international school, and now I'm currently an online teacher. So that is my experience for me. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, my girlfriend, my fiance, thank you for showing up to support. Okay. Jenny Leo, are you there?
Yes,
Care to introduce yourself?
sure. My name is Jenny Liu. I've been a Toastmaster since 2017, based in New York and visiting from 3 districts in District 119, District 46, and District 101 in the Bay Area. I just can't get rid of California to complement the cold out here. But glad to be here and supporting Joe, and also hoping to learn from the rest of District and Willie. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Jenny. Well, if you guys don't mind, it seems we must make a slight adjustment in plans. Paul, are you okay with going first with table topics?
Yes, I am, Mr. Toastmaster.
Okay.
Let's get the ball rolling and have some fun. It looks like our guest, Vic, unfortunately, maybe was having some internet problems and came in and out. I'm not sure if hopefully he comes back, but I think we have all experienced Toastmasters here. So I don't know if I really need to spend a lot of time getting into the details. We all know the rules. We all know what this is all about. If anybody has a question about what it is, please raise your hand. Otherwise, I'm going to challenge you to go deep into your psyche and remember some of the things that brought you to Toastmasters, why you're here, and what's going on in your life today. So are we ready for some quick improv? I'm going to start with one of our distinguished guests, our very own District 35 Director, Teri McGregor. Teri,
yes,
would you share with us your most memorable moment so far in your Toastmasters experience?
that's a great question, Paul. And there's so many memories. The one that's sticking out to me right now is we are in the middle of contest season. And I once participated in a speech contest. And I did that as I was club president for my home club, Leading Voices. And I was trying to get everyone else excited about having a contest. We had never had one before. And so I said to my club members, I said, if someone else will join me, I will be I'll compete too. You only need 2 to make it a real competition. And so a couple of people were like, all right, I'll do it. And it was the humorous speech contest. And the very last thing I wanted to do was win that contest. I'm not here for the speaking, I'll admit it. I was like, please don't let me win that contest. But when you have a topic like being a Bears fan in Packer country, I mean, how could you not win the contest? So I won at the club level, and I went on to the area contest. And the night before, I was like, please don't. I did not want to win that contest. I did not want to be in front of a bigger audience full of more people that I did not know. So I was like, oh, I hope I didn't. And I didn't want to win, but I was there. A club member of mine was area director. So I was really like, wanted to support her. But again, I won that contest. I got all the way to the division. I mean, we were like at this point in an auditorium, and the audience was a little bit bigger, like 30 people instead of like the 6 people in my club that were watching me. And I did not, I did not want to go to the district and be on that stage. Thank you. I did not win. I was second place, but it was a really, I look back on the experience, and it was really, really good because I've never given a better speech because I was forced to practice, right? So much. So that's memorable to me because it was something I really didn't want to do, but I stuck my neck out. I did it. I feel good about what I did. And I encourage all of you, if you've never been in a speech contest, to participate in a speech contest.
Well, thank you, Teri. Fantastic for taking us on that journey with you. I agree. If you haven't been in a speech contest, you must do it at least once. I'm glad, though, I wasn't part of your club and having to shed my bias and vote for you in that contest, because I don't know if I could have been fair. I'm just saying, just got to keep it real. All right, for our next contestant, I'm going to go to one of our other trios, someone that has I've known for a while. I had the pleasure of, she was once my area director, Jennifer Cambiccio. I want you to go back and tell us, what was the first speech you ever gave in Toastmasters, and how did you feel doing it?
Mr. Tibor Topics Masters, fellow Toastmasters, and guest. The very first speech I gave was in Cream City, and that was actually in a park because it was during the summertime. I'll never forget that speech because I prepared so hard for it. It kind of reminds me of Raghad's experience today because I was summarizing my journey in just 4 to 6 minutes. What made the speech so spectacular is because I had time to think not just in terms of the milestones, but also about what was so commendable about it. As I was preparing for the speech, just like Raghad said, I had time to think about the legacy of my father. That time he was still alive, and then I believe that he was sick then, and he only had a few more weeks to live, but then I did not know that then. But I was able to celebrate my life and be able to celebrate what a rich legacy that had brought me to this point. But even more so, I began to understand and appreciate the importance of doing the things that Raghad was saying in terms of taking time to write down a speech and to think about what the message is. Mr. Tibor Topics Master, it's been many moons since I gave that last speech, many moons.
Well, thank you so much for bringing us back there. I could feel your emotion and your pride. And that's what being able to experience some of these things in Toastmasters is all about. So thank you for bringing us on that journey. Laura Schoner, thank you for joining us tonight from Walworth. And it was so great that you're here. We have never met, but it is an honor. I do some work in Walworth County, so it's great to meet somebody from there. I want to know, and I think we all want to know, what brought you to Toastmasters International?
Oh, Mr. Table Topics Master and fellow Toastmasters. I joined Toastmasters kind of, I guess I had heard about it many, many years before, and it kind of intrigued me, the whole idea of, I don't know, learning to speak, learning to not necessarily speak. I'm sorry, my screen just went black. To not only to speak, but to get the message from my head out my mouth and to make some kind of sense. That's all I wanted to do, more impromptu. I hate practicing a speech. I just want to be able to speak off the cuff and be understood and get my ideas out there. So anyway, I joined in 2013 on April Fool's Day, and I've just been hooked ever since. I've only been a member of Walworth County Toastmasters, and so many of you guys have, you know, other clubs you belong to, and that's kind of intriguing. But right now I'm president, and we've got our challenges, got a tremendous amount of challenges, new people joining, and, you know, small club size to be able to support those new people. And it's really hard, but I think I'm learning as much by being a club leader more than anything, because I learned that I can do stuff, and if I screw up, it'll be okay. Things seem to work out somehow. So I can kind of trust myself a little more. So that's pretty much what brought me here. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master and fellow Toastmasters. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing that story with us. I would encourage you, put your email in the chat. The challenges you are going through with your club, all of us are going through, and that's why it's so important. I think that's the foundation of why we're having these open houses, to work together, not only to bring in new members, hopefully, but also the network, I believe, with us. This networking is bringing us all together, and Zoom has become a fantastic way that we can all do this. And I know, I don't think I'm speaking for myself, we all want to support you and Walworth Toastmasters in any way we can. So please reach out, and thank you for sharing that with us. Wow, some great table topics going on tonight. I'm going to jump over to Jenny Lou. Would you like to participate?
Sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I have a question. It is an honor to get to meet you, and I'm sure you seem to be an experienced Toastmaster. So what I want to know is, what is the greatest lesson you have learned so far and want to share with all these Toastmasters?
The greatest lesson I've learned from Toastmasters has to be relationships. That is the magic word for Toastmasters, because it is the key to solving every single problem that I have encountered since day one in my journey, whether it was from overcoming my fear of public speaking to growing as a leader as district officer. And one example to highlight that is, for example, the club that I sponsored, Virtual Parliamentarians. We all look at the same governing docs. We all look at the same agenda and club leadership handbook, but we may interpret those same exact words over time differently. So for example, voting in members, we're supposed to collect the payments up front and then arrange for a vote and then process it. But the club leadership handbook, which the Toastmasters governing doc says, as per policy 1.0 section 3C protocol, you must collect the payments up front. But that was probably written during a time when we collected checks and credit cards in the mail before the pandemic, where it wasn't encrypted. Now we have got electronic payments. I don't think it mentioned that. So some clubs collect payments, some don't collect payments, because when you collect payments, it's considered a financial contract or commitment. So how do we reconcile that? And we can, disagree on all these rules, but when it comes down to it, we need to respect each other in relationships, which is one of the 4 core values, so that we can hear the diversity of thoughts. And then we can use the Pathways ethical framework to reconcile these different views, as well as parliamentary procedures, so that everyone's voice is heard before we decide how the club or district proceeds in processing that. So the good news is we were able to reconcile that by polling our members to see if they feel comfortable inviting these members, since membership is by invitation only. That encourages our clubs to sponsor members and also make sure guests don't feel uncomfortable where they've paid dues, even if it's just submitting the paperwork, and then have the chance of being rejected. So this is one of the greatest lessons I've learned that comes in handy. So use those relationships and those tools that Toastmasters provides. Back to you, Mr. Topics Master.
All right, the lessons just keep flowing, the information, the networking. This is great stuff. Thank you so much, Joe, for setting this up. And thank you, Jenny Lou, for sharing those insights with us and telling us, you're right, relationships. And that's what we're doing, building here. Joanne, speaking of relationships, I know you were dragged in here tonight because of a relationship, but I'm hoping you're getting something out of this. And I'm going to ask if you want to, I'll give you a few seconds to turn on your screen if you'd like to participate in the table topics. All righty. Nope. Okay. We will move on. Let's see. We still got Sua. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing good. I would like to apologize to everyone. I was studying green right off at the start, and I totally forgot that green is 1 minute. So I apologize. I hadn't been a timer for a very long time, so I'm like, wait a minute, is green at the start, or is it? Or anyways, thank you, Lori.
That's all right. I think it brings up the point that this is the safest, greatest, most comfortable place to fall forward, right? To learn, to make these mistakes. So you just inspired me that your table topic is, besides this little snafu, what other snafu has happened to you in a Toastmasters meeting where you were able to quick turn around and stand back on your feet and finish the meeting?
Thank you, Table Topics Master. I believe that same scenario happened to me during a speech contest. I started with a total complete blunder. I ended up starting my speech before the contest master finished speaking, and then I completely forgot exactly how I made that blunder, but I completely made a blunder right at the beginning. Besides speaking, a little too quickly and not letting the contest master finish speaking. But I ended up recovering. It took me like 8 seconds to recover, but I actually recovered, and I continued and I finished my speech. And that blunder in the beginning cost me, but that taught me a very valuable lesson. And don't let your anxiety get the best of you. Table Topics Master.
Well, thank you. What a great lesson. Yes, don't let your anxiety get the best of you, and pick yourself up and move forward. Another fantastic lesson tonight. I'm going to keep going until you I see the virtual hook come out. We have a few more here, and we're going to improvise. I have a friend of mine, our own secretary from Spectacle City, Mr. Larry Korber, who has been working diligently, who sent me a list of 5 people who I emailed, sent flyers, and called. Unfortunately, Larry, they did not come tonight, but you have worked diligently. So I want to know, where do you get so much pride in sharing your story with your coworkers about Toastmasters International?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Where do I get so much pride in sharing it with my coworkers? Very interesting question. I get it just because of the experiences that you guys at Spectacle City, everyone I've met there is considered like family and friends to me, which is a reason why. Well, let's start with a story back when I first started. I was really nervous. I came with my friend Mark, and they called me up for table topics. They asked me, did you want to try it? Well, I was a little bit nervous right then. It's like I've never done anything, never done any public speaking whatsoever. And I just started talking and I was sputtering and, oh my God, what that type of stuff happens. Like, you know, Toastmasters meeting, I'm thinking, oh great, I'm going to get torn apart by the, everybody thinks, but they were all clapping, you know, give me, well, you know, tell me good job and all that. And I just figured everybody can benefit from this. It's a really wonderful organization, and it just lifts you to a new level. And that's why I decided to start talking to people at work, and then I started talking to them about Toastmasters. And to my surprise, a lot of them were really interesting. I'm just really shocked that they did not make it tonight. But I will try again and see if I can get it. Especially one of my friends was like right before, oh yeah, I'm really excited. You know, I want to go. I can't wait for this meeting tonight. And all of a sudden he doesn't show up. So I'm like, oops. But could be just some stage fright too. So on that note, thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. I turn it back to you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Korber, for your hard work.
You're welcome.
Very inspiring. Speaking of hard work, I know our past district director, Chris Poole, works very hard in multiple roles, in multiple activities, multiple jobs, taking on all kinds of responsibilities. But I want to know which one did in Toastmasters International, which job, which responsibility you found the least pleasurable and you had to work the hardest to finish.
Oh, you slay me here, Polly. What position in Toastmasters was the most difficult for me? Oh, I'm going to say Sergeant at Arms because I have actually never held that role. And why I say that is difficult for me, and it probably would not be difficult right now, but in pre-COVID world, the Sergeant at Arms is the one who carries the supplies and sets them out. And I have a very difficult time with those physical actions. So I would not, and probably would not, volunteer for that role. Honestly, I have enjoyed every single role that I've held in Toastmasters. I currently belong to 3 clubs: Cream City Communicators. I've been the treasurer for, I think, the last 6 years. Sheboygan Toastmasters, I have been a member there 3 years, and I am, for the first time, holding an officer role, VP of PR, and I belong to Plymouth Toastmasters, and I've been there 5-6 years maybe, and I'm currently the VP of Education and Membership this year. Outside of club stuff, I have been an area director, obviously all the trio roles. I loved when I was the newsletter editor. I absolutely love being the admin manager because you were involved in so many different aspects, but you didn't have the responsibility of area director or division director. I have had good experiences in every role. And I love to just put my hand up and volunteer because I know that I'm going to continue learning. I can keep using my skills and I can meet other people and reach out to them when I need their assistance later on. Thank you so much for that question, Polly.
Well, thank you so much for your service to all of us. My hat goes off to you because you do a lot, and you do. I like what you said, and it goes back to what Jenny Lou said. It's about relationships. We build relationships here, and we learn and we grow together. And as I look at the screen, with so many of you, I have personal relationships with already, and the rest I am looking very forward to joining and getting to grow and create a relationship with. Having said that, I thank you so much for participating in these table topics. But now we are going to go on with the show. So back to our Toastmaster, Mr. Joe Domblesky.
Thank you, Polly, for a wonderful and very fruitful table topic session. I heard so many stories during this entire session. I have some good news and some bad news. Want to hear the good news or bad news first? Bad news is unfortunately our backup speaker, Willie Jones, is a no-show for tonight. I don't know what happened. Maybe something got lost in the communication. Something happened. Something happened to Willie Jones, and he wasn't able to show up tonight. But however, the good news is we do have another keynote speaker tonight. Teri McGregor, our district director, agreed to be our backup speaker tonight. I'll be honest, this happened in a situation when I was in Shanghai, where a club actually asked me to be a keynote speaker when their keynote speaker for a special club meeting didn't show up because of a late train. So looks like Teri decided to help me out in a situation similar to that. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce tonight our backup keynote speaker, Teri McGregor. She is giving a 10 to 15 keynote speech titled Growing Confidence. Growing Confidence, Teri McGregor. Teri McGregor, District Director, Growing Confidence.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters and guests and new friends. My job is with the American Family Insurance Enterprise, and I've been with that company for almost 17 years. It was 11 years ago, right about this time, when I reached the ceiling of the position that I had held at the time. Have you ever felt that way? That you're kind of at the pinnacle and you're like, what do I do next, right? Well, that was me. And a leadership position in my department had opened up and became available, and I really wanted to take that next step. I had all the qualifications. I had the experience that was required. I knew the people involved. I had even worked for the hiring manager before and had received really good performance reviews from them. So I was really excited about the possibility for this position. I was totally ready for that interview too. I had my resume, my cover letter, my pantsuit, everything. I was ready. Well, I did not get that position. And it was for one reason. I lacked confidence. Now, when I was being declined for that position, the person that was declining me didn't say, you didn't get the job because you don't have confidence. What they said was, you didn't interview well. You didn't sell yourself. If you were able to communicate better, answer the questions more strongly, you would have been a solid candidate for this job. That day, the seed was planted that would help me grow confidence. I reflected on that feedback, and I set out to improve myself professionally in that area. Now, I've always been a good worker, someone that had been pretty well liked, and I was able to achieve all of the goals that had been given to me. What I lacked was the confidence needed to achieve more of the things I wanted out of my career, and the confidence that got me really where I am today. With that feedback, I was bound and determined to improve my interview skills. And this person told me Toastmasters. Toastmasters was the suggestion given to me as a way to practice my impromptu speaking and become better at interviewing. I took that suggestion to heart and went to my first meeting. Now, I had never heard of Toastmasters. I didn't know a single Toastmasters member. So I did a pretty quick internet search, and I showed up at my first meeting thinking that this was just going to be about speaking, public speaking. Other than that, I really didn't know what to expect. There was a club in my own company, so I didn't have to go far. And at the meeting, I was greeted by some familiar faces, people that I actually knew and had worked with, and then people that I had seen through the hall. So there really wasn't a stranger in the room. What I found when I got to that meeting is there was order. I like order. I like things to be in place. I like order in my life. There was lots of clapping. I love that. Lots of encouragement. That first meeting, I was intrigued. I wasn't totally sold, but I was like, this is kind of cool, kind of interesting. Good way to get up from my desk and refresh my mind for my work. So like most people, even today, I still have this fear of public speaking, right? The top 3 phobias. Do you know what the top 3 phobias are? Chris is saying them.
Snakes, death, public speaking, spiders.
Yep, you got all 3 of them. Speaking, death, and spiders. All 3 of which I share with most of you on this call. The last thing I wanted to do, besides winning that speech contest that I talked about earlier, the last thing I wanted to do was get up and give a prepared speech. But I mustered up the courage and I did just that. And as I started participating in the club meeting by taking on functionary roles, volunteering for table topics, and yes, even giving speeches, something was happening. I was learning, I was growing. I was becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable in front of that audience. Soon, you all know how Toastmasters is. Soon I was encouraged to take on an officer role in the club. I became a leader in the club, and that led to additional leadership and support roles in the district. And from there, I started to see my career change and grow. What I can tell you is that this path is a lot like a hobby that my husband and I took up during the pandemic. Anybody else take up some new hobby while we were all in lockdown? When the world shut down in 2020, I was sent home to work, and this was a really hard transition for me. And to help with that transition, my husband and I started working on improving our home. If we were going to be stuck there for a while, we were going to make it somewhere we wanted to be. And good thing we did too, because now I work from home permanently. And one of the things we started was a garden. And let me tell you, I am no gardener, like black thumbs right here, 2 of them. So I had a lot to learn. One of the first things I learned is that you had to have the right environment. You had to have the right soil, right? And it starts with that good, rich soil. You plant the seed, then you cultivate the growth of the plant with water, sunlight, pruning, maybe some good food along the way. And this summer, this past summer, actually, we lucked out with an inordinate amount of jalapenos. I mean, like these things were like, they wouldn't stop growing. So for our first garden, we did something right with these peppers and really enjoyed watching them. So how is this the same? Well, I believe that Toastmasters provided me the right environment to flourish, right? I received feedback that helped me improve, and that was my sun and my water. With every evaluation, I was being nourished and with knowledge on exactly what I needed to do to improve, on what I should continue doing, and the nourishment helped me learn and grow. And I received encouragement to keep moving forward, take that next leadership role. There were times when fellow Toastmasters saw something in me that I could not see in myself. And when I started to see that potential in myself, that is when I truly blossomed. And as I blossomed, I was able to share with others my own knowledge, my own experience to help them do the same. And teaching and mentoring along the way also just helped me blossom more. So today, in my own garden, I'm thriving. I applied for that very same leader position 1 year later after joining Toastmasters, and I got the job. Yay! Since then, I have found my voice. And as I have nourished and cultivated in my own club, I saw success in my career. In my current role as a manager, I have a seat at the table. I speak up in meetings. I interact with leaders at all levels, including directors, vice presidents, and even the CEO. And I lead very large scale projects. I stand up for myself and my team, and I have an impact on the change that's happening in the company that I work for. The foundation, right, the richness of that soil that I talked about was the skill set that I brought with me to that first meeting. And the environment was my club and this organization. And I was cultivated with feedback and the ability to practice new skills, fail, get back up in a safe, nurturing environment, try again. And this was my sunshine and my water. And the gardeners were my fellow club members, my mentors, and the leaders that came before me who helped lift me and build me up. There is a misconception about Toastmasters, and that is that you are going to come here and learn how to speak. But I have a secret for you. You already know how to speak, right? You all have been speaking probably since you were 2 years old. For you smart ones, probably much sooner than that. Learning how to speak is not what you get by being a Toastmaster. What you get is a group of people that will cultivate you. And what you get is the opportunity to cultivate others. And doing this together, if we all work together and do this for each other, really good things are going to happen. And who doesn't want to be part of that, right? So exciting to be part of that. So I don't know how to teach you or anyone else really how to be confident. There's a reason why there's a list, right? Do this to grow confidence. Try this to boost your confidence. And I'm not sure where some people just have it, right? Some people just are born with that confidence. But for the rest of us, there's this organization and Toastmasters. So my environment, the sun, the water, the new skills I learn and practice and hone since becoming a member, to my gardeners, my fellow club members, my mentors, the leaders that came before me. I thank you for providing this rich environment where I can grow and now I can help others grow. Turn it back over to Joe.
Thank you, Teri, for the backup speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, it looks like our real keynote speaker is here tonight. Let's hear it up for Willie Jones. First of all, I'd like to thank you for showing up and for agreeing to give the keynote speech for tonight. Willie, if you're ready, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Aloha from Hawaii. I can tell you that looking outside my window there is partly cloudy, beautiful cumulus clouds up there in the sky, sunshine bright, and it's about 80 degrees here in Honolulu. I know that you all would just love to be here, and I'm sure that you've booked your ticket for sometime this year. One of the things I can tell you based on this event, you now have a friend in Hawaii, and I'm one of those people who will pick you up at the airport and show you around. So just always keep that in mind. Listening to Teri in the beginning, as I came in on the tail end of this, she was talking about confidence. And I'd like to say a couple of things about that before I give you my message today. One of the things that I love about Pathways, and one of the reasons I became a Pathways guide, is because all of the roads in Pathways, every single one of them, leads to confidence. Confidence is the underpinning of public speaking and presentation mastery and all of the things that we seek to do in our personal lives to become a better version of ourselves. The key ingredient is confidence. And the way to confidence is this way, in my mind. This is how I got to confidence. You start with something that you can do. As an example, if you say to yourself, I'm going to start jogging, which is, I actually did many years ago. I was in need of exercise, and a friend of mine and I decided that we were going to begin a jogging adventure and we weren't going to quit. But the steps to get to jogging meant we had to get into the gym, change into gym clothes, stretch, get warmed up, and go outside and run. What we agreed to do, without fail, was something we could do. We would go to the gym every day and we would put on our gym clothes. There was no guarantee that we were going to run because we knew that was a hard part. We also didn't know how far we were going to run. So we said, we'll just run as far as we want to, then we will walk. 6 months later, with that formula, we ran 5 miles. Confidence builds on itself. It's contagious. That's why Toastmasters is such a valuable tool. If you come to Toastmasters and you work on being a good timer, or you work on being a good grammarian, or you work on being a good sergeant at arms, whatever role you have, you master that. Confidence grabs you, you move on. That's my brief message. The thing that I want to discuss with you is where we were yesterday. Yesterday is a metaphor for the day before the pandemic arrived. Whatever day that was for you, it's different for some of us. But the day before the pandemic arrived, we were all living normal lives. We were meeting in person in Toastmasters. We had plans for the summer. We had all sorts of things going on in our routine, boring lives. I say our lives are routine and boring because human beings live normal, routine, boring lives, which is exactly the way nature intended it. Having a boring life means we do repetitious things over and over and over again. Even though we often loudly deny that we're doing it, we do. I go shopping from time to time, and on the way to shopping, I promise myself, I admonish myself, I plead with myself to buy something different to eat. Try out jackfruit. You walk past jackfruit every time you walk into the grocery store. You pick it up, you look at it, but you never try it. Willie, pick it up, buy a jackfruit, take it home, try it, do something different. It's always green grapes. Why? I do get the jackfruit. I put it in my cart. I purchase it, I bring it home, and I put it in my refrigerator. And 3 months later, it's still in my refrigerator. I haven't touched it because it's not part of my daily boring routine that humans tend to do. In Toastmasters, we were doing club contests back when the pandemic, yesterday. We were getting ready to go to Paris for the international convention yesterday. I was going to show up in Paris. It was a dream come true, a convention in Paris. Then the pandemic hit. And suddenly, we were quarantined. We had to go inside. If we went outside, it had to be for a specific reason. In Toastmasters, we had to learn new terminology and deal with new technology. Zoom was the main thing that we started doing, whatever Zoom was. And all of a sudden, we're all trying to figure out how to log on to Zoom and how to do all of the little things in Zoom. And we were struggling with how to share your screen and even how to get on the screen and all of the things taking us away from our routine, taking us out of our comfort zone, completely into an alien world, the world of living with a pandemic. Now, we all live through it individually. However, we live through it collectively. And collectively creates its own type of energy. But as human beings, we're adaptable. So after about 3 months, I was Zooming. I was Zooming big time. I could even Zoom on my phone. I could Zoom on my tablet. I could Zoom on my screen. I bought new webcams, ones that had HD rather than what I had before. I was immersing myself into this Zoom world. I was learning new things. Most wonderful, I was meeting new people all over the world. I was showing up in Saudi Arabia and South Africa and New York, and Florida, all sorts of places, a new world, new adventures, new people, new ideas. I started loving it. I'm now going to get comfortable in this Zoom era because I have no idea what tomorrow brings. And then last summer, vaccine is in, a lot of people are taking vaccines, and suddenly the restrictions start to come down, and we had to contemplate the end of the pandemic. So the question became, do we remain on Zoom in Toastmasters? Do we have hybrid meetings? Do we go back to in-person meetings? Can we go back to the life we had yesterday? Because that's our tendency, right? We want to go back to where we were because that's where we were comfortable. And that's where we had lived those boring routine lives. I thought about that. And I concluded that we can't go back. No matter how hard we try, yesterday's gone. Yes, I know. I know the feeling. Yeah, I can go back. I know where I was. Yeah, you may know where you were, but nobody else is there or somebody there. There may be new people occupying those boxes. You can't go back. And why should we? If I stopped Zoom right now, do you know how many new friends I won't have contact with anymore? People that I've come to admire, people I've come to love to listen to see, develop personal relationships in some cases. I don't want to go back. But I don't want to stay here either. So what is tomorrow? Tomorrow is an opportunity. Tomorrow is an opportunity for us to take the remnants of yesterday marry them with what we have learned and developed now, and create a new future that's even greater and more wonderful than the one that we had before. Now that takes some thinking, but man, oh man, do we have a wonderful laboratory in which to get all of that thinking done and to put those things into play. That's what I'm doing. I'm thinking about a future that includes new ideas, new ways to master the Toastmaster world. Imagine this, we always talk about Toastmasters as a worldwide international organization. Well, as of right now, it truly is. It's actually what we say it is, rather than what we aspired to be yesterday. It is today an international organization that is interconnected, where I can go anywhere in the world this evening from Hawaii and appear in South Africa and surprise people with my presence and delight in the idea when they come on the screen and say, oh, he's the world champion. And I go, yeah, it was, yeah, modestly. I just love every minute of it. And you tell people that you live in a certain state and they want to know information, and you tell them these things, and you tell them about how you conduct your meetings. They tell you how they conduct their meetings, and you go, that's a great idea. And you snatch it up and incorporate it into your own meetings. So my message to you today is, we can't go back. Even if we wanted to, we can't go back. And there's really not a problem with that. We can't stay here because time moves on. We still don't know if the pandemic is over. It's over some places, it's not over in other places. It's really, really confusing right now. But out of confusion and chaos is opportunity. Seize this opportunity, Toastmasters. Bind yourselves to each other internationally, and let's build a better Toastmasters for tomorrow. It's in our hands to do. All we have to do is do it. Mr. Toastmaster.
Bravo. Bravo. Thank you so much again, Willie Jones. Hearing that the second time is even more amazing than when I first heard your speech, first time over at the speaker, over at Standard Bears out in California. Thank you so much again for agreeing to give that wonderful and inspiring keynote speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, 1997 World Champion Public Speaking, Willie Jones.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much.
He is also a speaker in the District 9 Speakers Bureau, from what I hear.
I am.
Yep, and he's an expert in communication and leadership. And I also would like to thank Alicia Curtis and a couple of my other Toastmaster friends in California for arranging it so Willie can speak tonight. Willie? So well, before I get ahead of myself, I think it's appropriate that we do a question and answer for Willie Jones. About 10 minutes. Anybody have any questions? I have one. Or actually, no, Laura, you go first.
I'm wondering if you've always lived in Hawaii, or if what other countries or places you may have lived in your life.
I have a very interesting life. My dad was in the military, and I was in the military for 20 years. So I've lived in Scotland, England, Germany, Austria, Greece, Italy, Japan, Okinawa is a part of Japan. I was in Vietnam for 2 years, and I was in the Philippines. So I've sort of been all over the place. And I came to Hawaii on business infrequently during the 80s. And at some point, this is what I say to people. One day I got up and I packed my bags and I left my hotel and I couldn't find the airport. I don't know what happened. I had something happen to my brain and I just could not find the airport. I just finally gave up. So I've been here since. Anyone else?
I think Paul had a question. He had his hand raised for a while.
Paul.
All right. Yes. Well, thank you, Mr. Jones, for being here tonight and sharing that inspiring story with us. I think it was so spot on for the times that we're in. So thank you for sharing that with us. You seem like a very driven man. I'd like to know, how many times did it take you to, in the international contest, to make it, to become the world champion?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question. You know, when I joined Toastmasters, originally I was in the Air Force in Arizona. And a friend of mine kept bugging me to go to a Toastmasters meeting. And I kept saying, get away from me with that, whatever that is you're talking about. I'm not a joiner. I don't join things, and I'm not interested in something that may have secret handshakes and rituals and whatever. About 3 months later, he came to me and he said, it's my birthday. And you're going to go to a Toastmasters meeting with me as a birthday present. And he was my good friend. So I said, okay. I joined Toastmasters that day. I joined it because of the evaluation portion, which something that was novel to me, and I'd never seen anything like that before. And so I'm a curious person. So I said, well, I like that. I think I'll hang around here for a while. 3 years later, after going through the CC manual, basically what I did is what too many Toastmasters do. I sort of mailed it in. You know, you do the speech, you mark it off, you get your CC. I had no idea what nonverbal communications was. You know, it'd say, you know, when it says practice your gestures, I would just do things. I didn't know why I was gesturing, but I got my CC. 3 years into Toastmasters in 1983, I entered the club contest, and surprisingly, I won it. Now, I was a good speaker because in the Air Force, I did seminars and workshops, so I was very familiar with standing up talking to people. I won the club contest, and I won the area contest. I won the division contest, and my God, here I am at the district contest in Phoenix, Arizona, where Phoenix is the home of the National Speakers Association, for heaven's sakes. So there were some pretty powerful speaking people in Phoenix. Nobody knew who the hell I was. This guy from the Air Force down here in our district, I won. Now, I had to go to Kansas City for the regional contest. Go up to Kansas City. I'm speaker number 6. Speaker number 5 was the prior year's winner, and his name was also Jones. So everybody expected him, as we usually do. We expect last year's winner to sort of blow everybody away to get back on stage again. Well, I heard him. I sat there and I listened to him speak. I wasn't really impressed. And so it didn't scare me. So I got up and I spoke and I won. I go back to Phoenix. I'm now the regional winner. And they had not had a regional winner in a long time. And everybody is calling me. I'm on the radio, newspaper, and I'm really, really blown away by all of this attention. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. The international contest was in San Diego. So a group of me and my friends, we got in a VW bus, back one of those VW boats, and we drove from Phoenix to San Diego, 8 of us in the bus. We get to San Diego and they give me a room because I'm the speaker. And so all 8 of us stayed in my room. And I go in Friday for the polling for the speaking position, I get position number 1. And I'm happy. I don't know that that's the worst position to get. I'm just thrilled that I got speaker number 1. I'm saying to myself, I'm going to go in here tomorrow morning. I'm going to set the bar so high that nobody is going to be able to get over it by the time they get to the nice speaker. That was my plan. So I went in the next day and I spoke. And I'm telling you, I did every single thing that I wanted to do. I did all my little gestures. I did all my little voice inflection and all of that stuff. I did it. I made no mistakes. And I lost the contest. I didn't win. I didn't place, and I didn't show. But I was happy. And the reason I was happy because the guy who won the contest name is Roy Fenstermacher. And he was speaker number 3. And when Roy Fenstermacher spoke, he dropped the microphone at about 2 minutes. He dropped it on the stage, and it made clunk. It hit the stage, and I thought, well, that's it for him. Disaster struck. No. He definitely reached down and picked up that microphone and didn't miss a beat. And on the back of my neck came a wave of warmth from the audience heading to the stage to embrace him. And after the contest, I said to myself, whatever that was that happened when he dropped that microphone and the energy in that room changed the way it did, if I can figure that out, I can win the contest. So from 93 to 97, I worked on it and I figured it out. That's why I'm the world champion.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much, Floyd Jones. It is now 8:30, and around this time, we would have the breakout sessions for our individual clubs. But how would you guys like it if I were to extend the Q&A and adjourn official? How would you guys like if I were to officially adjourn the open house and extend the Q&A for everybody, for Willie Jones and everybody? All right.
Okay.
Willie Jones, feel free to stick around as long as you can.
So let me tell you how I won the 1997 World Championship. So what did I work on? It occurred to me after I lost that contest in 93 that I didn't know a damn thing about nonverbal communications. I didn't know about gestures and voice inflection and all of the things that we keep being told we need to do. So I started going to clubs and I would give a speech and I would be practicing vocal variety, but I wouldn't tell the evaluator or anyone what I was actually working on. And if someone in the club or even one of the evaluators mentioned to me, your vocal variety today was excellent, I'd say to myself, yes, that's what I'm trying to, I want to get the reaction that I want. I don't want to tell them in advance what it is to look for. I want them to say it to me. So as time went on, what I understood, and I understand now about nonverbal communications, they have to be deliberate, they have to be purposeful, and they have to have, you have to be doing it for a reason. So if you're walking around the stage or you move away from the lectern and walk just to walk, you're just wandering, you're just doing something aimlessly. If you move your hand up to your head and do this, there has to be a reason for that. And you have to be transmitting something very specific to your audience with that movement. And it has to appear to the audience to be natural. That's what actors do. They make you think that everything that they're doing is so effortlessly. That is the whole point of mastering nonverbal communications. So when I mastered it, I said, okay, in 96, I said, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to go in 97 and try the contest again. In the intervening years, 83 to 97, I never attempted it. I didn't want to, wasn't ready. In 97, in my club right here in Hawaii, I had moved to Hawaii from Arizona, actually from California. And they said, well, you've been in the finals before, so we're just not going to have a club contest. We'll just move you on to the area. I said, no. Nope, we're having a contest and I'm beating somebody because it's got to be a competition. So when I won the district contest here in Hawaii, everyone wanted me to come to their club and practice my regional speech. I said no. When I won the regional contest in California and came back to Hawaii, everybody wanted me to practice my final speech. I said no. Here's why. Because what I had learned and what I'm saying to you is you can only give that speech to that audience that day. That environment that you're in to give that speech changes with each audience. It changes with each day. So I can't practice a speech for you today and then go give that speech to a completely different audience and expect the same reaction. Now, I know that Toastmasters says practice, 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 and that all of that is good if you're practicing for the right reason. If you're practicing to practice your movement, practice your inflection, practice all of the things that you're going to do. But you need to understand that you're only going to give the speech to the audience that day. Practice means practice your movements, not practice the speech, so to speak. So in 97, when I got to New Orleans, I didn't even think I was going to lose the contest. It didn't even cross my mind. Matter of fact, I went gambling on the riverboat in New Orleans. I didn't even go to the breakout sessions at the international conference that year. I didn't even stay in a hotel. I stayed in my own hotel. I enjoyed New Orleans and Bourbon Street, had a good time. Went in on Friday afternoon, and I think one or two of the other speakers had the word dream in their speech. So I changed my speech title because I didn't want to be like them. So I just changed my speech title on Friday. I picked number 8. I was the number 8 speaker, which was perfect for me. I understood now speaking position. 1 through 7 got up to speak on Saturday morning. I'm sitting in the front row with the other speakers. I'm watching 1 through 7. They are pretty much doing the same thing, because the Toastmaster tells us when you're at the you stand in the middle of the stage, you acknowledge the chief toast, the chairman, then you start to speak. I changed all of that when I went up on the stage. I changed all of that for a specific reason, because I knew that I could bond with the audience because no one had actually done that. So I needed to get that out of the way. So now think about what I'm telling you. I'm doing all of this on the fly. And the reason I'm doing it on the fly, because I'm really good at this. I really worked on this for years. I know what I'm doing. So when I won the contest, it didn't cross my mind that I wasn't going to win it. So what I'm saying to you as speakers, this Toastmaster stuff works. It works. You just have to work on it.
Thank
Laurie.
you.
Laurie, you just waving?
I have a question.
Oh, okay.
Joe, I'm going to ask a question, okay? All right. One's a quick question. I know Morgan MacArthur. He won the world champion of public speaking in 1994. Do you know Morgan MacArthur?
I do not.
Okay, all right. That was one first question. My second question is, did you use a prop in the world champion of public speaking? And if you didn't, what is your favorite or most memorable prop you've ever used in a speech?
I have never used a prop. Not because I have anything against props. I am very good at manipulating. People tell me don't say manipulate. I am very good at engaging the audience's emotions with my voice and with my gestures and with my physical movement on the stage. So I can create the word picture in their mind, or I can create the emotional response that I want from them by using all of the tools that I have in my body. So I don't ever need a prop to do that. If I want them to see something, I can describe it to them and then make it appear in their minds.
Very good. Thank you, Willie. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right. Thank you, Lori. As I said, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to stick around as long as you can. I have a question for Willie Jones. I kind of stuck in the chat earlier. I love your speech. It was even better hearing it the second time around. My question is, though, is any specific advice, any ideas on how to rebuild Toastmasters International? Any advice to us, district leaders and members in District 35, on how to rebuild District 35 from the pandemic?
I think that Teri's talk about confidence is the key. I think that confidence is your destination. So the question is, how do you get there? And the world that we're operating in now is much larger than it was yesterday prior to the pandemic. I would suggest that you enlarge your club by attaching yourself to other clubs in some way. Attaching yourself, and what I mean by that is I don't know whether that means joint meetings. I don't know whether that means sending your speakers to other clubs to speak there. I don't know whether that means sending evaluators to other clubs to evaluate there or participate in certain club roles. But now that we are outside our comfort zone that we were in yesterday, let's stay outside and let's build something new. Now, what I'm guaranteeing to you is that it will create confidence. As an example, if one of you come to my club here in Hawaii next week and you do table topics here in my club, rather than doing it there in your club, it will have an effect on you. And I'm saying it will have a positive effect on you. It will move you into another area of comfort. And the good thing about it is those of us in Toastmasters, we're very familiar with each other. And even though we may have slight differences in the way we carry out our agenda, every Toastmasters meeting, whether it's here or in Saudi Arabia, has a good feeling to it, a comfortable feeling to it. You don't feel like you're in a strange place, even though you may not even be understanding too much what the people are saying due to accents and things. But this is a very wonderful new adventure that we can embark upon. Don't go back to being where you were. Don't try to go back to yesterday. Talk to each other and come up with creative ways to create something new. That's exciting to me. That's what I'm going to be doing. Patrick.
I have a question. So some people know around here, I'm one of the younger members. I'm one of the newer members. And when I say younger, not just by age, it is by age too. I'll say that, one of the younger ones, but also just in years of public speaking or even being in Toastmasters. So what advice would you give these young Toastmasters, these new Toastmaster members? Just would like to know from your experience, from how long you've been and been world president, what is your advice to new members and young members of Toastmasters?
Thank you for joining Toastmasters, and I'm glad you're here. And what I have to say to you is that, are you in Pathways yet?
Yes.
Have you done your first speech?
Yes.
How long did it take you to prepare that speech?
Well, I was pushed very fast for my group. My group did not allow me to wait. It was like, you gotta get your icebreaker. So I did, like, I think about maybe a month and a half into a group.
Okay, so what happens, that's a typical response, mind you. That's the majority response. So don't feel like that was different for you. It's pretty much the same for many, many Toastmasters. The thing about Pathways is this. The foundation of speech making is in the first speech. It's in the icebreaker. All the resources, all the video, all of the tips that they give you in Pathways to construct and present your icebreaker. Every one of those elements that you are learning there will serve you well and pay you dividends for the rest of your life. I sincerely believe that, and I sincerely believe it in my heart. It is absolutely critical that you construct your first speech according to the principles of speech making. Learn about the title and learn about the opening and learn about the elements. If you do that, when it's time to do your second speech or your 10th speech, you already have the foundation. You don't have to relearn it. You just have to fill in those blocks and then employ the lessons that you've learned. So my plea to you as a new member, master these things as they're presented to you in Pathways. It looks easy. As I told you, it took me 3 years. I zoomed right through that stuff and thought I knew what I was doing. I had no clue. Go back and do the icebreaker again. Go back and read that stuff again. And then when you get ready to do your icebreaker again, if you invite me, I'll show up and be your evaluator. Because that's how strongly I believe that it is a bridge to where you want to go. If you do that first one right, you'll do the 10th one right. And the inverse is also true. Yes.
Real quick, there's a question in there. What is your club number, or what's your club in Hawaii?
My club is, I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Look, see that Zoom thing I can do? I'll put it in the chat.
All right. I got a couple of group photos earlier, but maybe we can get a group photo of everyone that's still here. Do you mind, Willie Jones?
I don't mind.
All right. 3, 2, 1. All right. I'm officially ending the recording, by the way. This will be available for everybody, email it out. And Willie, you can keep this and add this to your library of public speaking material, which I'm sure you have.
Thank you. Thank you.
All of your amazing memories.
All righty.